निडर, साफ, स्थिर.
Welcome back to you. Considering the Independence Day, I was trying to decide on a movie that dealt with nationalism. And I finally decided on the 2006 movie Rang De Basanti. The retelling of history is crucial for any nation to move forward because it documents most of our previous frailties so we can be held accountable if the same mistakes are repeated. Almost all the patriotic cinema based on India tells a story, real or imaginary, of a time period different than present. And of course, they provide a zeitgeist of that period that helps us to transport and thus understand that stage of nation building. But Rang De Basanti stands unique due to its non-linear style of narration. Director Rakeysh Omprakash Mehra takes us on an inspiring journey of self-discovery while rekindling the fiery spark of passion for one's homeland. By now, most of us have watched the movie. The movie begins with Sue McKinley, a British journalist who has been waiting to put together a documentary about Indian revolutionaries and martyrs based on her grandfather's diary, who documented his dilemmas while dealing with the ongoing freedom struggle. Sue arrives in Delhi to pursue her goal and comes across a motley of young and carefree BFFs who spend their time chilling, drinking, laughing, and living in the moment. We see the carefree college students become their mature selves as they get to know more about these freedom fighters, and with them, we see the glimpses of the past too. But these glimpses are not pure. They are depicted by the youth of today, based on the diary of a British officer and through the lens of his granddaughter, Sue McKinley. But it is this process which makes the characters of the movie invest in the past, and the audience to invest in the characters of the movie. The story by Kamlesh Pandey awakens the dormant corners of our heart, while A.R. Rahman's anthemic melodies, coupled with Prasoon Joshi's rousing lyrics, have an uplifting and soul-stirring quality. And just when the director have our attention, he plunges us to a dark pit. Flight Lieutenant Ajay Rathore, played by Madhavan, one of the supporting but central characters to the movie, dies in a dysfunctional MiG-21 fighter plane crash as he waited in there to move past the Ambala neighborhood to minimize the civilian damage. And with him, all the love and laughter falls crashing down. This is when the lines between past and present begins to blur. Then begins a new cobweb of corruption and politics. In order to veil its inefficiency, the government blames the young pilot for the crash.
संसद में दे चुका हूं, ये सरासर झूठ है। ये आज के नौजवान होश में नहीं, जोश में विमान उड़ाते हैं।
The frustration and total disenchantment with the present discredited system is clearly evident.
ना कि अजय राठौड़ जैसे नौसिखिए पायलट जो गैर जिम्मेदारी से इन्हें चलाते हैं।
यही क्या पके जा रही है ये आदमी?
And underneath the facade of progressiveness lies the abyss of darkness and bigotry.
पब्लिक की याददाश्त बहुत कमजोर होती है, बाकी हम संभाल लेंगे। देश पर शहीद होने के लिए तो सेना में भर्ती होता है शास्त्री जी।
The objective of this group is not revolution, but to seek retribution and justice.
मिग तो दोबारा बन सकते हैं, मगर हमारे बच्चे तो दोबारा नहीं आ सकते।
They do resort to peaceful protests to get their voices heard, but as Bhagat Singh said,
लेकिन जो लोग ऊंचा सुनते हैं ना, उनको धमाके की जरूरत होती है।
The transposition of the image of General Dyer, the butcher of Jallianwala Bagh, with the defense minister speaks volumes. It articulates a viewpoint that the country selling traitorous political class is no different from the British colonists. And then, the grit, the rage, all comes to this. The film tries to establish the difference between terrorist and revolutionary. Earlier in the film, Ramprasad Bismil asked the British officer not to call him Fasadi because they are revolutionaries.
कि आजाद ओ तुम्हारे दूसरे फसादी साथी कहाँ है?
फसादी नहीं, वो क्रांतिकारी हैं। उन्हें क्रांतिकारी कहिए।
Similarly, in the present context, it is the state and their apologists who dub the fighting masses as terrorists and opportunists.
One is Andolan Jivi, or you could call it protest parasites.
और वो है आंदोलन जीवी। ये जमात आप देखोगे, वकीलों का आंदोलन है वो ना वहां नजर आएंगे, स्टूडेंट का आंदोलन है वो वहां नजर आएंगे, मजदूर का आंदोलन है वो वहां नजर आएंगे, कभी पर्दे के पीछे कभी पर्दे के आगे। देश आंदोलन जीवी लोगों से बचे। ये सारे आंदोलन जीवी परजीवी होते हैं।
And our protagonists choose to make their voices heard, knowing that their fate is doomed. The Greeks have often defined heroism as a virtue of being able to choose between what's right and what's wrong and fight for it. They are never immortal.
मुझे लगता है कभी-कभी इंसान के अंदर की आवाज उसे इतनी दूर तक खींच लाती है कि डर की सारी हदें पार हो जाती हैं और वहां होता है एक अजीब सा सुकून.
The film explored the widespread malaise that is set in the society and delivers its moral indictment against the value system that makes the youth withdraw into utter irrelevancy, passivity, and social conformism. It seeks to break them away from their disengagement in taking up a social role and making a contribution towards society, which cannot flow without conviction, commitment, and vision. And by the end of the movie, the carefree, nonchalant youth are transformed into heroes. Though the film presents the populist image of revolutionaries without locating them in their ideological dwellings, it successfully exposes the inhumanity of the existing order, and its political message, therefore, should not get lost. Change within the realm of individual consciousness will lead to change in collective consciousness, which is necessary in order to transform the objective reality. The chaos of life is that it has no meaning. We are always trying to keep the wolf at bay and try to make sense of the chaos and give meaning to it. And in this attempt, we often superimpose the meaning to this chaos through stories, jokes, art, etc. And every once in a while, we successfully create a narrative, and it endures. This endurance of narrative is reflected in the fact that how a person who is dead since 1931 can still have a transcendental value for so many of us. The narrative of Inqilab Zindabad represented the outlook that revolutionary movement will not stop at the achievement of freedom. It will continue till the system which permits the exploitation of man by men and of a nation by nation is abolished, and a basic change in the socio-economic structure of the society is brought about. And the movie, in its own little manner, reintroduces us to the same narrative. And this is why I love Rang De Basanti. If you like the video, kindly hit the like button and share the video. For more videos like this, kindly subscribe. Till next time, stay safe and have a good time.